everyone. Welcome to this your deep dive into boys' love dramas from, 2019 and 2020. We're going beyond just summaries today, though you've definitely got those ready to go. We're looking for those hidden gems, the ones that really surprise us, or maybe even the ones that left us scratching our heads a little.
Yeah, exactly. We're not just here to list things out, right? We're digging deep, finding those unexpected twists, maybe some unexpected themes too. The goal here is to give you, the listener, the inside scoop on all of these dramas so that you can jump right in and know what you're getting into.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Our first category, navigating the love triangle trope, and of course, those sequels. We're starting with a trilogy here, the Love Mechanics trilogy. Sounds like the original Love Mechanics really leans into the classic BL tropes. Two engineering students, check. A love triangle, check.
Yeah, you've pretty much got the gist of it. It's a classic setup for a reason, right? Though I will say, in this case, even though it follows a familiar formula, the actors have fantastic chemistry, which can make even the most predictable trope enjoyable.
That's so true. Sometimes you just can't beat that chemistry, even if you know it's coming. But, if it's really riding that trope train a little too hard, maybe skipping straight to the sequels is the way to go. Roommate and Soulmate are those worth checking out. Give us the good, the bad, and then maybe skip it.
Okay, so for Roommate, it starts strong, especially considering it was made on a pretty tight budget, but, and maybe this is just me, it kind of loses steam as it goes along. Soulmate, on the other hand, benefits from a much more polished production overall, but there's the big but here, the acting. It might leave you cringing a little.
Oh, that's never a good sign. What happened?
Well, there's this one scene that the source material called overwrought, and honestly, they weren't exaggerating. It's like the intention was there, but the delivery just didn't quite land.
It's rough when the acting pulls you out of the story like that. But hey, not every drama can be a winner, right? Speaking of winners, let's move on to something that sounds like it might just be a hidden gem. Ingredients. This one seems to be veering away from the typical BL setup, focusing instead on, get this, food and music.
Ingredients was a really pleasant surprise. What's fascinating about it is that it manages to be so charming, so heartwarming, even with a low-budget production. And that's because the premise is so simple. It allows the filmmakers to really focus on character development, on those small moments of connection that make life, life. It's a perfect example of how a strong narrative doesn't need a huge budget to shine through. If you're looking for something feel-good, something that leaves you with a warm, fuzzy feeling, Ingredients might just be your new comfort watch.
Low budget, big heart. I'm here for it. And speaking of heartwarming, up next, we've got You Never Eat Alone, which actually tackles mental health in a really unique way.
This one jumped out at me right away because of its premise, which I have to admit is pretty creative. It centers around a character with a phobia of eating alone.
Oh, wow. Okay, I can see how that would make for an interesting story, especially in this genre.
Exactly. It's something that a lot of people can relate to on some level, even if they don't experience it as a full-blown phobia. It really highlights those very real struggles with social anxiety, which, let's be honest, isn't always talked about openly. It's great to see these kinds of human experiences being explored in BL dramas.
Absolutely. Though the source material did mention that while the premise is great, the execution might be a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not perfect, but even with its flaws, I think You Never Eat Alone deserves credit for tackling a topic that isn't often addressed so directly in this genre.
I appreciate that. Not every drama has to be flawless to be worth a watch. Now, before we move on to our next category, I have to ask about He's Coming to Me, because we're already talking about unique themes, and this one sounds like it's in a league of its own. I mean, we're talking about a ghost, a boy who sees ghosts. How does that even work?
Right. Talk about an unconventional premise, even for a genre known for its, shall we say, interesting pairings. It's fascinating, though, because both You Never Eat Alone and He's Coming to Me, while completely different in terms of plot, they both deal with serious, often stigmatized topics, and they do it in a way that feels, fresh and engaging, I guess. They manage to be thought-provoking while still being entertaining, which is a tough balance to strike. It's amazing how these dramas can take us from, the complexities of social anxiety to a romance with a ghost, all in just a few episodes. That's part of what makes this genre so great, right?
Totally. It's incredible how many different stories they can tell within this one genre. And speaking of different, let's talk about a drama that sounds like pure fun, Tanthon Chonlati.
Oh, yes. Tanthon Chonlati. If you're looking for a lighthearted, feel-good story, this one's it. It's a classic friends-to-lovers story, and it sounds like the actor's comedic timing is spot on. Just a fun, playful vibe overall.
Yeah. I love a good friends to lovers story.
Mm-hmm.
There's something so satisfying about that slow burn. But while we're on the subject of love and relationships, we can't forget about Gray Rainbow, which takes a bit of a different approach, right?
Yeah, Gray Rainbow definitely takes a more serious tone. It explores the complexities of coming out, finding acceptance within a family, dealing with those tough conversations. It's a good reminder that love and family don't always look the same for everyone, and it handles those themes with a lot of sensitivity.
So important to have those diverse stories represented. But okay, we've had heartwarming, we've had serious. Now let's talk about a drama that sounds absolutely wild. Why? This one sounds like it's in a category all its own.
Why? Where do I even begin? Imagine a BL drama, right? Now dip it in glitter, sprinkle in some chaos, and then just for good measure, throw it in a blender. That's why. It's over the top, completely unpredictable, and it might leave you wondering what you just watched, but in a good way.
I'm both intrigued and slightly terrified, I have to say. Definitely adding that one to the list. Now, we've covered heartwarming, we've covered chaotic, but we haven't talked about shocking and thought-provoking yet. And that's where the effect comes in. The source material mentions something about shocking twists and heavy-handed social commentary.
The effect is definitely one that will stay with you for a while. It's not afraid to push boundaries, make you uncomfortable even, all in the name of sparking some serious thought. One of the most shocking twists involves a character who calls out social media hypocrisy, which could be a little too close home for some viewers. It's a bold move, but it definitely gets you thinking.
So, the effect. It's one of those dramas that'll leave you thinking long after it's over. But before we move on to the next batch of dramas, I'm curious. Can a drama still be enjoyable, even if it challenges your views, pushes you out of your comfort zone a little?
That's a great question. And for me, the answer is yes, absolutely. In fact, I think the dramas that challenge us the most, the ones that make us question our own beliefs and assumptions, those are often the most rewarding. They might not always be easy to watch, but they have the power to stay with us, to start conversations, and ultimately to help us see the world and maybe even ourselves a little differently.
I love that. A drama that challenges you is a drama worth watching, right?
Oh, sorry.
So we've got dramas that make us think, dramas that make us laugh. Got any dramas that might have us hiding behind the couch cushions?
Well, we've still got a few more on our list, some with glowing reviews, and others that, maybe didn't quite stick the landing.
Ooh, okay, spill the tea. Which ones should we approach with caution?
Sometimes even with the best of intentions, a story just doesn't quite come together.
Happens to the best of us.
Right. Like Tossura, for instance. It seems to fall into some of those, let's just say, problematic tropes that haven't aged well.
Oh no, like what?
The whole, aggressively pursuing someone until they give in. Not really the love story we're rooting for these days.
No, definitely not.
And then there's This Is Love Story, which the source material described as, quote, shallow and uninspired.
Ouch.
It sounds like it might just be missing that, that spark.
Yeah, sometimes those simple premises need a little something extra. Speaking of things not quite working out, what about Gen Y? It sounds like it had potential.
Yeah, this one seems like a classic case of starting strong and then losing its way. Like, the characters are likable, the dynamic's fun, and then, bam, toxic storylines.
Ugh, the writers got bored with their own story. Okay, so a couple to avoid, but surely there's some more gems in here, right? What about The Moment and its sequel, The Moment Since?
Those two seem to fall into that, perfectly enjoyable, middle-of-the-road category. Not groundbreaking, but a sweet, simple love story that's easy to watch, which, let's be honest, sometimes that's all you need.
100%. Sometimes you just want a nice, easy watch. But then sometimes you want all the feels. It sounds like I Told Sunset About You might be the one to break out the tissues for. Childhood friends, rivalry, intense emotions. That's a recipe for an emotional roller coaster right there.
This one does seem to be a standout in terms of both its story and the way it's told visually. Beautifully shot, great performances, and it tackles some really poignant themes. Friendship, forgiveness, self-discovery, and it does it all with a level of authenticity that's rare to find.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty glowing review.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last but not least, we have He, She, It. A horror-themed BL. I'm intrigued, but also, a little scared.
I was intrigued too. Horror with a dash of romance. Sounds promising, right? But it sounds like it might be a bit of a missed opportunity. Like the premise is there, but it might be a case of too much telling and not enough showing.
A swing and a miss. It happens.
Yeah.
But hey, I applaud the effort. It's great to see these dramas experimenting.
Exactly. Taking risks is how we get those truly amazing, groundbreaking stories. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of BL dramas from 2019-2020, Any final thoughts?
You know, it's been quite a journey. We've gone from heartwarming stories about food and music to thought-provoking explorations of things like social anxiety and acceptance. It's amazing how much variety there is within this one genre, and
Oh,
I think that's what makes it so special. There's something for everyone.
I totally agree. And as you continue to explore the world of BL dramas, just remember to, pay attention to the stories that really resonate with you. The ones that stay with you, those are the stories that have something to teach us.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave you with this.